All right. The video's on. Let's see this. All right, guys, it looks like we are good to go and live this morning. It looks like we have 2 minutes, so we will take a little bit of time on. I just want to update the says old information about an old live, and I would like to update it to what today's information is about. So today we're actually going to be talking about protecting yourself online. Um, I have recently ran into a decent amount of fraud coming from my clients. It is at this point just the technology that is available to them does give them a large upper hand to be able to kind of change faster than the average person can keep up. So I wanted to talk about it today because at least with my clients that work with me directly, they do know at any point of time, working with me, you're also working with everything that I have to offer. And so a lot of the times they'll send it to me first, especially if it has something to do with the website. Um, so we're going to talk about that today, and we'll talk about it in depth. And then on the website, I have also posted a good amount of blog articles, and I have a lot more coming on these certain things and which one is actually like if you're looking for like a file or a type, they're broken down instead of this is going to be a little bit more general. A little bit more light on me. Okay, let me see. That helps a little bit. It's like dark. And this isn't perfect. Okay, life is not perfect. I'm trying. All right, that's a little bit better. Definitely room for one of these days I'll be in a nice studio in a nice office. It's just not today. It starts today. This is how it starts. So welcome everybody. Welcome to NPR Design's weekly live show. So this live show it's made for the small business owner that is somewhere in between wanting to spend $0 to $300 a month on marketing. Over the years, I see so many business owners do a really good job with wanting to invest in marketing. Now, that does come with a caveat. The intentions always start off good, but when they're met with large negative feedback cycles where they're not getting the numbers out of it or they don't feel like they're getting the numbers out of it, it typically becomes a very discouraging topic moving forward. I think everybody, when they first come out, they have this like amazing, like, it's new, it's great, and they want to push it initially. And sometimes, if in that time they don't choose the right avenues for their market and or for their customer, then what will end up happening is um I kind of lost my train of thought there. So yes, so small business owners, once they get to $300, If in the first couple of weeks that they don't, sorry, lost my train of thought, pick the right avenue, sometimes that will cause them to have really bad results as well as they see the money that was spent on it. Now, what we want to do is I've learned that 0 to $300 a month, if done consistently, can actually really be effective for a new small business. So I definitely recommend during that time and like sitting down with your budgets, and if you are going to if you are going to do sorry, I need to turn that off. If you are going to be doing marketing, then make sure that you take the time with your budgets to know what it is. And another thing that I also like to tell people to do is make sure that you're putting good KPIs, which is key performance indicators. Make sure your key performance indicators are clear so that you can either say, I made my goal, I surpassed the objective. But what we don't want to do, or what I see a lot, is be like, a lot of the times I'll be like, someone will come to me with something they have, and I'll be like, yeah, it did this and it did this numbers, but we're not happy with it. And I'm like, okay. So what was the goal when you started that? What was the thesis behind or your hypothesis on what you wanted to happen by putting this marketing thing out into the world? And so I just noticed from 0 to $300, the people that are doing it on their own, it's a very, very important time. So what I have done is I have given back my hour or two in the morning um, to you guys for those people because I want them to be able to get good information and not feel so sold. Of course, I will let you know a lot of the clients that do go through this sometimes end up, having some work facilitated by me and my team. But we do want to just be that resource. So we're the resource if you're ready to purchase and do our build your budget marketing packages, or bring your budget marketing packages, and then we also build it. That or websites, it kind of just depends on what they need and how much they're willing to be able to handle. So I wanted to open it up with that. I think every week now I'm going to start to open it up to explain what this is for because I want anybody who sits here for the couple of minutes to understand why we're here. So, slight housekeeping. I want to apologize for missing the last 3 weeks. I remember episode 4, the first week I missed because now it's episode 4. But first week I was gonna do it on exhaustion because I was exhaustion, and it did emanate into the next morning. When I woke up, I had splitting headache, and anybody who does these or tries to have to watch chats and stuff will understand. Like if your head is not on straight, this becomes harder, and it's hard to be in front of people when you're super sick. The week after that, I had roofers. It was so loud. I just was like, okay, if we're gonna take a couple days off, couple weeks off, we did it. We're reestablishing, and there's gonna be some changes coming forward. I talked to um a potential like it's actually someone like I want to work with, Jermaine Hubley, and he did a really great job with breaking down this. They are absolute leaders in the content creation place or environment, and it's something that I've always been interested in, but have not had. This is kind of like my first go at being in the public space. So he helped me out a lot with that, and I have to really appreciate it. If you guys get a chance to visit their Facebook page, please follow them. They are two locals here in Florida that go around, and he I was really inspired by how they're very true to themselves, and what they're doing is they are able to help other people get in front of their audience. And we connected over them doing something free to give back to the community. They're not they are wonderful business people. And if you get a chance to check out their page. You'll see some of the best food in Orlando, some of the best attractions in Florida, and I know they do travel as well, but I do know that they are here. Um, so housekeeping there, what came out of that is that I might need to move from YouTube. So I would like to stay on YouTube, but I would like to stream to Facebook Live at the same time and maybe TikTok. But I have to understand this meeting just happened a couple days ago. It wasn't ready to be implemented. But I need to find a program that will get me on all of them, and I know that they exist. It's more of a matter of we still do have projects that go every week, and sometimes the time's just not allocated to get all that updated. But if in future episodes you see me on Facebook, if you see me on TikTok, and less of here, you'll understand why. Um, the other housekeeping thing is there's a chance I might move the time. Please stay with me. Do people like 7:30? Would they want something later in the night? I prefer in the morning because I always like to have a cup of coffee. And I know my gas station coffee was killing it this morning. So I always like doing it in the morning, but if anybody has anything for night, I understand. Um, I'm trying to think. I think there's one. Oh, yes. So my last thing is I want to really thank influential women for highlighting me for my How She Did It story. Influential Women has a really amazing section on stories of entrepreneurs that they tell their story on how they did it. And they actually even do a great job of breaking it down into certain themes. So let's say if you were someone who was looking for content or looking for inspiration, looking for that motivation, they even have it broken down into like certain categories. So, like, if you're looking for help with like accountability, or if you're looking for help with emotions and branding, I'm not. It's kind of up to you. Um, I didn't actually see the thing before I wrote mine, but mine was written one from the heart. Um, I put a lot of work into that article, and it wasn't so much for influential women. It was maybe the first time I've ever put down my story, and so it was just, I don't wanna say emotional, but I was just like it was a turning point in my life too, and I was just like, "How do I wanna move forward?" So it was very therapeutic for me, and when you read it, you're gonna see kinda my heart out on the line, and that's kinda how I do everything. I'm very open, and I'm very, like, communicative. Like, I will tell everybody from top to bottom what's going on, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. And that's why my clients do like me, but I will always be honest with you guys. So, um, check out that article. It was great. Check out Influential Women because other than me, I have met some really amazing women through that platform. Um, If you are a woman who is out there kicking butt, make sure that you send influential women your information. They want to hear from you. They want to get you on the platform. We want to connect and we want to grow. So we have that. Um, Skip. This is the last. This is the last housekeeping thing, and I'll make it quick. Skip released their spring $10,000 um, grant. So let's, if you guys are interested in grants or anything, make sure that you guys go on Skip and get signed up. They have an AI writer to help you with the grant writing, but if you are looking to be able to stay in the free range, it might take some elbow grease and some hard work, but you can definitely still apply for that grant. But it's going to You're just gonna have to do it manually. So that is it for housekeeping. So are we ready? 12 minutes of housekeeping. Okay. Excuse me, I do need to get it together for a second. All right. Sorry, I'm about to talk for a hot minute. Make sure I get a good sip of coffee before I get going. All right. So as we move forward in today's day and age, protecting yourself is more important now than ever. And as much as it's about protecting yourself, um, I recently have had some issues and have helped some clients through some of these issues and pitfalls, exposures, however you want to call it. And I don't want to say it wasn't them protecting themselves, but what I will say is they always, any person that I ever deal with something like this, they always said, well, something was off. Something was off. And it is. Something is always off because it's not them. But like, what I want to do is, when it's off, I want people to be like, that is my first red flag that I need to authenticate whatever this is. Please do not just go with it. That 5 seconds of authentication is going to save you from bank account transfers you're going to have to figure out, from emails that you're going to have to retract, and then you're going to have just ticked off customers because they're getting spoofed emails. And so between money, time, and your reputation, this step to stop and to authenticate is, for a small business owner, it should be every time you do it. If you haven't seen it before, if it's new, if it's different, you stop and you authenticate. Um, it's just the life we live in now. Um, because the problem is that the scams nowadays, one of two things. They're either one or two ways. One, they are just, no joke, plain mimicking and pretending to be them. Like, they make sure all of the footers are, looking the same. All of the logos are there. All of the, everything that you would see in the email so that you click or something like that. Um, and I mean, nowadays with what is available, these emails are spot on. They absolutely look look and feel like the real thing. I mean, I use DreamHost as a server. It's open information, but there was a hot minute when I was getting a couple DreamHost emails and I knew that my bill wasn't due. So I actually followed up with DreamHost directly and I sent it to them. And I was able to actually set them up because they actually put a notice on the DreamHost after that people were reaching out. So like, that's why it's also super important to kind of stay on top of this, is because when you report it, like, these companies can't stop it if they don't know. And a lot of the times, the average person would be like, "Ah, I don't know what it is," and just kind of move on. But at least with what I do follow up on it because I'm trying to help this ecosystem kind of clear out a little bit of the junk. So you got your imitators. They're going to be imitators. Now, here's the second type of scam, or I'm calling it a scam. Sometimes, like, you'll find in Florida, you have an annual report. And I have a whole article on this just specifically on the website. I also have one specifically for emails. I think I might do one for websites, and, A couple other things, but at least I've done it on these two. So in Florida, your annual report, yes, that is due. Yes, there is a $400 fine if you don't do it on time. But you don't need someone to do it. You can do it yourself. And it is just as simple as a couple questions and you pay your fee. So these companies using that $400 thing, the date, the timeline, and the reality is that they know people don't know because it's not like they put the link on there for them to just go and do it themselves. Of course not. It's all about come through us, we're gonna do it for you, kind of playing the higher, like, we know more. Yeah, and we don't like that. So the thing is that I'm just using the annual report as an example. There are a ton of tax people, a ton of accountants. You'll find this kind of anywhere. But you when you know something's off, and that one might not be off. What they do might be legal. Is it ethical? I would say it's probably not ethical. And so I'm a person of ethics and morals. So come to me and I'm gonna tell you the truth. And I don't believe that that is ethical. Um, Everybody's struggling enough, and it's a free thing. If it wasn't a free thing, I get it. Well, you still have your filing fee, and that's based on what kind of business you are. That's not changed. It's done by the state. But like actually filling it out is yeah, there you don't have to pay to do it. So those are kind of like the two things. One of the things that you will find in a lot of these emails is like a sense of urgency too. So that's something we want to look for. Sense of urgency. So what we're doing is we're trying to like just give you guys like how to get back through all this information. It is a lot. So we're gonna kind of go into just a little bit more in depth. I kind of started with like the two main types. You got your scammer, and then you have the person that's like fraud, actually imitating that person. And we'll talk about some of the red flags you'll see to know that they are, as well as sense of urgency is definitely a huge one that's pretty consistent across the board. It'll have some sense of urgency. Your bill is due. Your bill is past due. Your bill is coming up. If you don't file, there will be this. So you always want to look for those. But if it pressures you to act fast, hides important details, or avoids verification, slow down and check it. So, like I said, we're going to slow down, we're going to authenticate because every time you guys know when something's off, every single time you need to authenticate. Because after it's authenticated, you can either say this is verified and or put it in your junk mailbox. And I'll explain why junk mailboxes are important at the end. So, um, with emails, and I don't think most people understand this. When I code an email to go out, yes, I put their email address, but there's a specific little piece of code. And it's really not even like it's not even like we are trying to do work scraps. It's kind of like a standard practice, but it's a standard practice when executed in good faith. So the issue that we have is that you'll have people put the email in there, but in the naming portion of it, they put in a misleading name. So like it might be I mean even just randomized letters and numbers at gmail.com. I've seen it. But then when you look at it from the name card, and I know this is a little bit more specific to Apple. I know some Outlooks and stuff, it writes it out. It'll put the email next to the name. But at least for Apple, which is what 60% of the marketplace, the name tag will hide the email that's behind it. So it could be letters and numbers, but then I could go and put Microsoft Billing Team. And then if you didn't click into that name card, you would never know that it came from b4792@gmail.com, whatever it may be. So definitely one of the things that you want to do is check senders and authenticate senders. Now, what would that look like? So when you have an email, okay, I want to start with an email. Let's start with a crazy Gmail. I want to start this way. So you have a crazy Gmail and you're like, oh, I'm not sure. But let's say it has something like um sales sales channel at gmail.com. Okay, sales channel at gmail.com. And you're like, sales channel, I've heard of it, but like I don't remember signing up, but it's something like you are like, yeah, no, I've heard it, I've come in contact with it. So what you would do there is take that whole email address. You can either drop it in a Google search and see if it brings it up, and or visit the point of contacts. So what sales, what did I call it? I don't even remember. But go to that point of contact, check the website, check the social media, check anything that is live and listed, and see if you can find that email. And even that doesn't mean, I mean, some people keep their emails private, but I can tell you for any reputable and or busy business that serves the general public, because there's obviously privatized stuff, very different. That serves the general public, you're gonna find an email address. You're gonna find, at least if that company uses Gmail, you might find another Gmail, but you might find, something that is just so similar that you're like, okay, I can authenticate the it's coming from them. And you can always email back and just, ask them. I prefer to give you the tools just to be able to save yourself time. But in that case, you can always email them if you're not sure. So now let's say it is sales at technologyx.com. Okay. Sales at technologyx.com. So what I would do is I want to grab everything after that @ sign. And the reason why I want to grab everything after that @ sign, that is actually, we're going to check the domain. We're going to check that this domain is authenticated. I don't even care who it comes from. Let's go back and check if the building is good. With the way we just did Gmail, you'll be able to authenticate through, use those practices here. But there's an additional portion to it where we're actually going to check that. What happens a lot of the time is, let me say, sales at technology X is correct. Let's say it is, okay? So I'm gonna get that little last part at da, 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 type it in, and I can literally write, is this an authenticated sender from this company? And a lot of the times, depending on how major or minor they are, you can get a lot of feedback there. A lot of the feedback you will get to is that people do actively blog post about these scammers. So if you get something from, especially a larger company that seems off, a lot of the time a designer, coder, someone has like flagged it or wrote an article about it so that you guys can find that. Um, so that's why you put that in. So let's say sales at technologyx.com comes back good. We love technology X. Anyways, then what happens is 2 weeks down the line, you are finally starting to work with them. You get an email from sales at marketing.technologyx.com. And you're like, I haven't seen this before. Marketing.technologyx. I know technologyx, but I've never seen it marketing. As soon as you have, again, red flag, you just need the smallest red flag. Grab that, throw it in your Google. It'll bring back to you what's in there. You see this a lot with Microsoft and Amazon. Those are the two, or Norrid, or Norton. I'm sorry, Norrid, Norton. Those are like the biggest ones that I see consistently spoofed over and over again. So what they're doing is what is called spoofing, and they are pretending to be you, and to an extent, they have been able to imitate you. Um, especially if you're targeting someone to buy a domain that's a little bit to the left or a little bit to the right, they're going to be able to do that and pull that under someone who's not watching for it, because they are subtle differences. But once you actually change your mindset and educate on how to go through the steps, I promise you, it becomes you start getting a pattern recognition. You start understanding, you start seeing the things that when it's wrong, it's wrong. So, let me see. I'm trying to get back into my flow. So now we've checked the email address. Now let's get into the actual content of the email, maybe just a couple things that we can look for. One, when you get into the email, these emails nowadays are getting I mean, they mimic them to the absolute utter T. And like, just saying, like, I know I could mimic it to a T. I don't work in bad faith, so I never would. But I understand when you do what I do, how easy it would be to do that. So the thing is that some people think that that would be like a really big task to take on, to like make this most, and I'm just like, no. If you're doing this every single day scamming, I'm like, they probably have 16 versions of that email and they send it out every single day. I'm telling you. This stuff can move fast, move like a wildfire, and it fractures really bad. So kind of like a spider web, every time it hits a computer, it's gonna fracture and it's gonna hit, things and then start going through there. Kind of like a broken mirror glass. So when we look at the email, um, here's the one thing you can look at it. Do not click anything. Do not click a button. Do not. That is where it starts. They will start as soon as they send you somewhere. They most likely have been able to touch something. So we want to make sure that you just don't click anything until it's authenticated. Um, so one of the things I would do is check the logos and branding. I mean, you're gonna know if that's off. A lot of the times they do use the people's stuff though, because they're already doing illegal. What's a logo at that point? So check the logos, but sometimes the logos will be off. They'll look off. The color will be off. Something will be off. But the biggest thing for you guys to look at is scroll the whole way down to the email footer. What we need to be looking in the email footer, there's certain compliance standards for emails. And these things include, like, you have to have your address on there, on where these emails are being sent, the company that they're being sent from, because the users that are on there have to agree to have all of these things sent to them with text message, email, whatever. But there's actually an opt-in process. So at the bottom, you are required to say where they opted in to you know keep brief. So now when you go down to that email folder, it should also have a unsubscribe, however it is function, however it's done. Some places will be like reply stop. Some places will be like, you got to go to this form, fill out the form, then you'll come off. Some you just click unsubscribe and it immediately unsubscribes you through the redirect. So it kind of just depends on what, you know, what unsubscribe. A lot of these don't have unsubscribed. A lot of them, like in this email footer, you're almost gonna know it's scam because it's gonna be off, and you're gonna be like, "Oh yeah, I see it." So there won't be an unsubscribe. There won't be a full address. And of course, anybody who is an authenticated person is gonna make sure that that's taken care of because they kind of legally have to. And I know that not everybody knows that, and it's okay. Like you guys aren't doing anything wrong. But there is a lot of, in a good way, Congress, what, 2 years? What year is it? 25? Yeah, between 22 and 24. I don't remember exactly what it was. But it's definitely been brought to Congress that there needs to be some reform here. And just with the internet and how businesses do, they really want to move everybody to authenticated domains. They do not want businesses doing business through Gmail and Yahoo anymore. They don't feel like it's secure enough. And they're actually trying to put in a couple things to at least help to try to get the spam to come down. And educating, like I will say, any day of the week, education is how you fight this. If I can educate all these people to be able to protect themselves, it's going to happen less. And when that well runs dry for those scammers, they'll stop. And I know I can't inform everyone. I don't care if I inform one person, though, and keep them from having an absolute disaster happen any day of the week. I don't care. It's worth the investment to me. Okay. So after that, another thing that you can do with emails is was the request made in context? Yes, you might have marketing mails that come to you, but do you work with this company? Like, there is a lot of context. Like, did you just ask for another quote? Even if you do work with them all the time, like if someone would call me, like someone was spamming my thing and we haven't talked in a while and they got a random quote out of nowhere, the first thing I hope they would do is pick up the phone and be like, what's this $1,200 quote? Even if they thought it was me. Because then I'd be like, what $1,200 quote? Assuming I was being scammed. So, um, make sure the request is in context. Did you sign up for the marketing list? Did you request something? Did you reach out to these people? Should you be hearing back from them? If not, if it's just out of nowhere, again, our red flags are already going. Um, Let me think. What else can we do with emails? Um, Another thing that you guys need to watch for is people that ask for personal information, and we all know what I'm talking about. When it's like they ask you one or two normal questions, or they construct or try to take control of the conversation, but then they start asking personal information that's just not needed. Huge red flag. Hang up the phone. Delete. Put the email in your junk box. Put the email in your junk box. You'll learn why later. But what we want to do is we want to get this to the jump box. Um, Let me think. I'm trying to think if I've forgotten anything. I do believe I got it all. Just spit. That was nice. Um, yeah. So that's a really good way to authenticate emails. Kind of the main points. I'm definitely gonna go over this list that I wrote because I did it pretty well. And sometimes these are just notes for me, but the way it's written is pretty wonderful. So check the full sender's email, not just the display name, right? We want to make sure what email is it coming from, not just the name that is displayed. Watch for misspellings or strange domains. You'll notice and when we do technology X, like imagine if you got an email from technology V. We want to watch out for stuff like that. Like it's close, but no cigar. Um, be cautious when you have attachments sent to you unprovoked. Absolutely. Remember, we said do not touch any buttons in the email. Absolutely do not open a freaking attachment. Um, that is where they'll get you. There is nothing good in there. Leave it. Forget about it. Like I know some people are like curiosity kills the cat. Leave it because whatever you're gonna see in there is gonna be awful, and you don't know what it could off potentially like release into your computer. So we did touch on don't touch any buttons, but especially attachments. I would like to take a little bit more because down here I actually said attachments don't hit buttons. So but that is very true. Um your anytime that it's payment wise, especially if you are see I talked if you didn't get one where what I have seen is they do work with that company, but then they'll get a weird request like, "Hey, this week can you pay through Zelle?" And you're like, "Yeah, no worries," because right, you're the person in good faith. But that wasn't them. So anytime you have invoices, payment changes that come through, you need to go straight back to your point of contact. I wouldn't even go through like Google at that point, straight to POC and make sure that you speak with them about those specific details. Because if not, they need to know that they're being spoofed. So we want to make sure that we can verify this with like just kind of doing open searches on the web with their information, checking Facebook, social media, um, anything that's gonna give you like that email. Um, the best thing is if you're ever in doubt, what I would say is, does this company act like a real business? Like, are they going through the correct channels? Because you're gonna know. We know how business is supposed to be done. Or do they just look and feel like one? And you're gonna kind of know the difference. You're gonna be like, but this is elusive behavior. You're like, businesses don't do this because we can't. We can't. We have to do good business to stay in business. Anybody who does bad business, yeah, they might get a way farther ahead of me in the short amount of time. But I can promise you, I will win the long game because I do the right steps along the way, and that is how you truly win. So, you'll know. Does it act like a real company, or does it feel or seem like a real company? And when in doubt, you go straight to the official source. Straight to the official source, straight to the official source. All right. Okay. For this portion, I'm just going to kind of run through what some of these things look like. Okay. I'm not going to put any more context behind it because you guys you know how to do it from the beginning. But if you guys have questions, you can always put it in the chat. I'll happily answer your questions in the chat. But you guys know how to do it. So this is what you will find, okay? Um, and I mean, you gotta understand, you guys, these emails look good. Like you guys I'm taking time with this today because it's not traditionally like marketing, it's not traditionally printing, it's not traditionally websites. But it's such a key to keep people safe that I find it so important. So this is where people get caught up. One, fake invoices, payment changes, account warning emails. Account warning emails are really bad. Payment update requests, whether it be bank account numbers or just where to send it, job offers, social media, pretending to be support. That was a huge thing. Social media had, oh god, Facebook there for like a year and a half. Oh my god, every single day I would get 5 things. Your thing's gonna be taken down because you're in violation with the community standard. Never was. It just a bunch of scammers trying to get money. And oh, it was really bad at first. They did curtail it finally. Fake vendor partnerships. Sometimes, let's say if you're working for a roofer, you might have a window guy that'll come in and be like, "Yeah, we work together," and they're just trying to get your work. I think that's kind of a scam within itself. Probably more along the lines of legally, but just not morally or ethically correctly. And the reason why people get themselves into these mistakes is because we're going too fast every day. We're just trying to get that bill paid. We're just trying to move forward. And I get it. I've done it. I just had fraud on my card within the last month. It does happen, you know? So when you're clicking too fast, trying to rush through something, you're not really taking in all the information that's in front of you. Um, a lot of people do just trust the logo. In as much as we want that trust to stay as marketing, I can't if this would get so bad that it would undermine people's trust in companies, that would be an absolute shame. But when it's coming from that person, trust the logo, we want to come correct. But nowadays you can't just trust the logo. You got to do your own critical thinking behind it. Um, if you respond, some people feel like the email will yield a response because they're either scared or angry. Yeah, don't do that. Unless you're like, if you're like, I think this might be real and I'm trying to just send an email back to see what comes. But again, when you do that, you should be pretty down that like 80% it's them, but I just need that 20% of insurance. Reassurance. Um, failing to reach, failing to check double payments. So, um, scammers will maybe catch that you're actually doing an invoice with people, um, duplicate that email, and so then you don't know which one's correct. And either you pay both of them because one employee pays one, the other employee pays the other one. It's just a communication issue, or, um, you know, or you don't, or you think one payment's wrong. It's kind of a disaster. And so and this is it's true. Um, you guys need to understand just because a website is good, it doesn't mean it's real. And this kind of goes back to just what I was saying before. Like, we as marketers and we in this profession, I think, are all committed to keeping the authority of when you are on a good website, you're with a good person. Like, we all want that to continue. And these people using this elusive and evasive forms of, I don't even want to call it, I don't want to give them the highlight of making money. No, like absolutely not. Like, you are defrauding people. And so assuming the website nice doesn't mean it's a real company. You want to make sure, like I said, I might do another article about how to do websites, but websites is way more intense. To be honest with you, almost anybody who is trying to do a website, they just wanted to email me, for whatever the hourly or whatever that would end up being, because of course I don't know what the project is. We can I would call it maybe like an audit. We could do an audit of the website, and if the purpose of the audit is to authenticate it or not, I guess we can make that the goal. Um, but I think that that's a pretty intense, way to do it, but that doesn't mean that it's not necessary. That's up to you guys. Like, if your peace of mind's worth it, and or if it's just that important that if it screws up, that it's gonna really cause some trouble, you guys can always reach out to us. But yeah, assuming it's nice and pretty, it just does not mean it's real, unfortunately. Um, like I said, I do want to gain a little bit of that authority back in this ecosystem. And I think Congress is doing a good job to try to make it happen. But again, you really can't make anybody do anything. So we just have to define it. And I'm not saying that, but it's interesting because we have our Bill of Rights as American citizens, and what has been brought to the negotiation table, as just an idea, is that at some point of time we're going to need that's like our physical Bill of Rights. We actually are going to actually need like internet Bill of Rights. What are our rights when it comes to the internet? Because that is, and I don't even know if that would be like for the world. Oh God, I could only imagine. No, they wouldn't even be able to do that. It would only be able to be enforced in the certain countries. But they've said that we need to enter like a Bill of Rights, and that would kind of give us more understanding on how we're supposed to operate on this platform. And oh God, when is the internet coming up on, what, 40 years old? 30 to 40 years old? Um, it's time. 30, 40 years. We've gotten a good amount of information. But then at the same time, I kind of contradicts my statement, because with the introduction of AI, things are just going at such an exponential rate. I genuinely don't think a Bill of Rights would ever be able to keep up with it. So I think it's very interesting. I'd be interested to see what they would construct, or how it would. I'm not against it. Like, I would like it to be brought, but I am against it, depending on what it says. There's a lot of times where you can kind of just tell if someone's doing it for the right reasons, or if someone's doing it to control. It's genuinely night and day difference. And people know. People totally know. What actually protects you? Slowing down. Slowing down. What actually protects you? I know I get so damn busy throughout the day, but if you want to take just 2 seconds, you're going to save yourself a lot of time on the flip side. You need to do your independent verification before ever, getting back to that person. And again, we've gone over a couple ways to do that. And something I put here is teaching your staff. I work with a lot of small business owners that deal with a lot of employees that are really bad in the day to day. So if you're an owner on here, and just make sure your team knows this as well. Share this information and send them this video if you don't feel like explaining yourself. Use direct contact methods instead of replying blindly. So don't click on a link. If something's off, use your direct contact POCs. We go straight to our point of contact. We know who it is, especially if we've worked with this company or are working with this company. We know who our point of contact is. Get back to them. They'll sort through it. All right. So this part, here's what we are going to do. Is I want to talk quickly about junk mailboxes, and then we'll go into I have like a simple evaluation system, a couple simple questions that you guys can ask yourself to kind of help navigate this if you're still stuck after everything we've gone through. Now, anytime we find out that these emails are um junk, make sure we put them in our junk mailboxes. Our email boxes learn. They they are learning what you want and what you don't want in your inbox at all times. And if you keep trading it, it'll get pretty strong. And if you train it to the point that you like, if you stay really consistent with it, it gets to the point where it's gonna at least safeguard you from like 90% of the hoopla. But if you just delete it or if you just ignore it, don't open it, nothing, it never learns. And even if you know it's a spam email from like you don't even have to open it, put it in your check mailbox. You're gonna delete it anyways. And honestly, you wanna get that stuff, especially if it's got attachments on it. You wanna get it off. We gotta get it off. In the junk mailbox, we keep the junk mailbox clean. And that's just kind of a good practice to help some of these issues. So like I said, junk mailbox kind of touched on it a couple times today, but it is super important on kind of fighting, I'm gonna say fighting crime, but keeping yourself protected. So, before you click reply, pay, sign, anything, we one need to check the source. Um, so we need to ask questions like, who is this sent from? Is this email address real? Does the domain match the company? Does the domain have a bunch of extra things in it? Does something seem off? Is it spelled right? Okay. So that's going to be your first step. And then we're going to evaluate the actual request. So what is the thing that they're asking me to do? Um, is it within context? Like, did I just, like, I'm going to use me for an example. Did I just reach out to Michaela to get me a quote? Why am I getting a $1,200 quote when I haven't even talked to Michaela in 3 months? Context. Is it urgent for no reason? Is this email like, if you don't do it, you will be charged? And you got to understand, like, there are terms, there are deadlines. Companies have it. But that is a huge red flag for anyone like demanding payment if it's out of context. Um, Again, and what information are they asking? Are they asking for money, passwords, personal information? We don't do any of those requests. Proof. So this is like your authentication. So the first two kind of got your things, your red flags or your feelers going. Now getting into proof. Can I verify the message? Does the company even exist? You know, and is the contact information consistent and clear? So again, you're going to find that social media, website, email footer. If you would kind of do those three should line up. Okay. That's a good rule of thumb. Logic. Bring your logic into this. Your gut feeling is going to tell you something's off. I promise you. So you will I don't know how to explain it. You just will know. You'll be like, "Does this make sense? Was I expecting this? Why is it worded like this?" That's weird. I need you to hone all of that in, and I need you to do what it takes just to protect yourself. Um, I just want to see this stop happening. And, it's even frustrating for me to have to charge someone for someone stealing from them and stuff? Like, no, I just wanna help you. They shouldn't be stealing your stuff, but unfortunately, like, it takes time away from other projects, and the only way I can put the time there is, it takes away from another one, so I have to, and then it makes me feel like part of the problem, and I'm not trying to be part of the problem, I'm trying to be part of the solution. That's why I'm putting out so much content for free on it. But sometimes, sometimes people are already in. And like I said, I think when I opened with this, my clients, I mean, we have open communication on that. I've always told clients, I'm like, if you get an email that you think's weird, you send it straight to me. I will email you back if it's good or not, because I do it every day. I know the things to look for. I can analyze it within just a few seconds and at least know if it needs, a follow up. Um, so your key takeaways: don't let urgencies make a decision for you. Check the sender, the domain, and the request. Verify the company outside of the message. Polished images are not proof. A few extra minutes of checking can save you time and from a major loss. Online safety is not paranoia. It's good business. Online safety is not a paranoia. It is good business. So I love leaving on that note. That was an absolute wonderful way to kind of go through. We went through emails. Like I said, you can do this with kind of this overall process can be applicable for websites, social media platforms, across the board. You can kind of reuse a lot of this process and be able to still get to a really close or really good judgment call on if it's real or not by following these steps. So I won't be doing another live on this, but there will be probably one to come for websites. I use the Florida annual report one specifically because that one does drive me nuts. Those people just absolutely and utterly take advantage, and they shouldn't. They shouldn't. And I get it, everybody's trying to make a buck, but like, I don't know, go make a better buck. You ain't gonna take my buck from my clients. And it's not that, it's just like small businesses work so hard just to get by. Very rarely you're gonna find small business where your owner's sitting at home drinking a margarita. Usually that person's worked harder than any employee that steps in that damn door that day. Sorry, pardon my French. But everybody wants to be the boss until, I mean, it gets hard. I've seen, I'm not even talking for me. I know what I've done, but I have seen my clients just absolutely put their heart out on the line for what they believe in. And I absolutely will be the person to make sure that they're protected and to make sure that they're safeguarded from people that are doing bad things, with all the knowledge I have. Can't stop every bad thing from happening, but at least I can help. Uh, So we're gonna close that up there. I really thank you guys for getting through that. I know that was long, but I know it's gonna help someone at some point in time. And if not, if you guys are stuck, always reach out to us and our team. I'm gonna go to. So I've been getting some emails in with some questions, but still haven't gotten anybody on the live. There is a chance that, not is a chance, there I probably will reach out to a few of my clients and ask them to come on here to start so people understand how the kind of banter is going to go back and forth. But I getting started, if it might be X episode. If anybody jumps on, I'll throw them on, because you just have to go to the WebEx meeting. If you go to the WebEx meeting, I can, I can talk to you, but I mean, I can even take over your screen if, we need to do more. You can show your screen, or I'll be able to help you. So work through your marketing issue and or privacy issue. So, and we can not just do more like business stuff. Like I said, this hour to hour and a half. Um, this is for you guys. So you guys come to me with the questions that you think I can answer. And I don't know if I can answer all of them. I promise you, if someone asks me a question live that I don't know, I'm going to slow down. I'm going to stop and I'm going to say, hey, we need to take this offline. Um, just because I'm not completely sure. I need to go educate myself before I get there. So it's just a safe place to come and ask some questions for free. But at least with the emails that I get, I can say trash the ones I know I can't answer. But yeah, no, I move right past them. I'll contact that person directly. I'm not going to use it for this medium. Um, so here's some of the emails that were submitted over the last 3 weeks. I actually have more than I normally do, but I'm probably going to have to save some of them for later. So let's read over this. So Alex Rivera at Riverstone, what? Illinois. Okay, cool. How do you tell the difference between a professional email and a fake one that just looks polished? So professional emails are going to have authenticated users that are sending authenticated emails. They are going to have a compliant email footer. Um, um, and it'll be in context. That's gonna be the last thing I'm gonna say. So it's gonna come from the right person, and when you put it in Google, it's gonna say it comes from the right person. Like, for instance, one of the ones that I recently had not an issue with, but moving a client from Wix to me, NPR Designs, and she was getting some spam emails, and I think I caught like 3 of them or something. But then I got at studio.wix.com. And that's one of our red flags, right? When there's extra words in the back. So funny enough, I actually emailed her that it was spam. But then I looked at it. I looked at the context of the email, and then I was like, wait. I'm like, these are analytics. I'm like, wait, hold on. Then, just like I said, typed it into my Google search. Is this an authentic email from Wix? It came back yes. And I was easily able to just email her back and say, hey, sorry, I actually read this wrong. This is a correct email. So, all of that will line up. So, email, footer, in context. All right, submitted by Emily Foster at Foster's Boutique in Tennessee. What are the biggest red flags when it comes to a company reaching out for you unexpectedly? Deadlines, unrealistic deadlines. If someone's like, hey, I just got in contact with you and due, and you had no idea about it. Biggest red flag. Biggest red flag. They're trying to not give you enough time to think about it. The more time you have to think about it, the more you're going to be able to find all the little things that are wrong with it. So that is the biggest. Um, and that'll always be paired with like they need information and or they need money. But that is the biggest red flag. I'm just gonna leave that there. I'm not gonna get too much into it. Submitted by Kevin O'Neill HVAC. What should a small business owner check for before paying online or online invoice? Um, yeah, absolutely you should check. Like, I mean, especially if it's just your first time paying. Just take 5 minutes to understand where you pay, if it's good, save it to your bookmarks. It'll take you 2 seconds, but again, these 2 seconds save you hours of being on the phone with the bank. Hours of being on the phone with the bank. Because sometimes these suckers are so good that even the bank is like, oh, well, that looks all right. No, no. Yeah. 5 seconds save you hours. And again, what should you check? If it's an online bill and it's semi due or within context, You go directly back to your point of contact. Directly to the back of point of contact and confirm with them. Save yourself gray hairs, phone calls, and a couple of choice words. We've all been there. All right. Submitted by Monica. Drips Creative. Mhm. Thanks. I appreciate you. Um, how do you verify if a company is legitimate before signing a contract? Now, I do got to say, I'm wondering where this is coming from. And two, um, we might need to take this one offline. I mean, you're gonna know if it's actually legitimate or not. I know it's a digital world, but like, if you're signing a contract and saying contract is pretty official, okay? It's not just like someone you're doing business with. And I just have to, preface with like, I'm not a lawyer, but like, go touch them. Like, if you have that big of a contract, you should be able to like have a touch point with them, whether it be someone who knows them, if they're, out of town, or, you know, you, you have it verified by someone else. I mean, before signing a contract, I just think that you're in pretty deep. You should know by then if it's a real company or not. And if they send you the contract within 5 minutes of you guys talking about it, red flag. Red flag. How do you have this contract done already? So yeah, take that one offline. Email me if you have anything specific. Not a big fan of this. Submitted by Brandon Scott. Scott Remodeling. What do you do when an email looks real but something is off? You lean into that feeling. It's telling you everything you need to know. Your red flags are going, and there's a reason why they're going. I believe I'm not gonna obviously go through all of the steps here and now. That's what this entire hour was about. But if you go back and watch this episode in this video, and or if you have watched this video, you might find that this has been answered. So when it does not look real and it feels off, you lean into it and you slow down and start doing your checking and your due diligence to save yourself time. So as soon as you feel off, just slow down. Start using your critical thinking and analyzing it. You're as soon as you find three things that are off, you're gonna know it's no good. Submitted by Megan Lewis, Lewis Events. How? How do you teach a team to spot suspicious emails without overwhelming them? When it comes to employees, I know during this I had said, I'm sorry, I have an add on. I usually just like let me think about. Um, for this one, I usually say because I talked about employees for a second, and oh, just mad at the phone. I talked about that for a second, but we want to tell them, but always, at least for me, I would always say send it to me because I want to be the one who's going to make the judgment call, especially when it comes to my business. But that's just how I would handle it. I would inform them of what to look at, but at least in my hierarchy, I would not leave decision making with them. Well, some of them I would, but not all of them. So, but I gotta treat everybody the same. So I haven't had a lot of issues, to be honest with you. Um, but yeah, I haven't had a lot of issue. But if you're having issues, I would just tell your employees to send it back to you, and you can go through it. Alright. Submitted by Jim Carter, Car Collective, Boutique. What should a small business owner ask for before hiring someone for a website, SEO, or branded print work? Oh, that's a good one. Proof. You need to see proof. Like, ask them. And I mean, proof even, and it depends on your comfortability level, but like, I very much can back up what I tell you, but I also am going to be able to tell you and explain it in a way that you're going to be able to understand. So, when you're hiring someone for a website SEO or branded print work, you want to ask them what's their portfolio, what have they worked on, what results have they had. SEO should be results driven. Websites should be, and I'm gonna, they can be whatever they want, but at least in my company and how we build them, website should be a tool. It should actually function something for the company. And then branded print work, you want to see how that person has branded other people. And as the small business owner, do not look at that logo and be like, "Oh, I don't like it," and then make judgment on that. Because I'm not gonna say it's for all my logos, but I'll tell you there are some of my logos out there that I'm like, do not like that myself. But what you need to understand is, as a designer, it's not my job to make that call. As a designer, I am emanating your vision. I'm just bringing it to life. It's not my vision. So I'll, at least with this, I'll show you all the brand kits I've done. Do I love them all? Absolutely not. Some of them I'm embarrassed by. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't embarrassed. But um and it in my opinion is just because I've seen, because normally through a logo design process there's like a bunch of them on the table. So typically my disappointment comes from there was a better one on the table that I saw. But that's what they chose. That's what they do. But guess what? I am your biggest cheerleader about it. That is your brand. That's your logo. It makes you happy. It makes me happy. And that's how it should be. Once they make that decision, you as a marketer need to be all in. All in. If you don't believe in it, how are you going to make others believe in it? And I tell small business owners that too. I have a couple of them that'll come to me in the beginning and be like, I'm not sure about how I'm doing. I'm like, you need to get convinced, because how are you going to convince others if you're not convinced yourself? And in a good way, that leads to manifestation, that leads to abundance. So yeah, I might be the hard person that's giving you a hard time on keep your head up. But the reason why I'm doing it is because I understand how those small changes, perspective changes, can make large impact. So I'm your biggest fan as well as your biggest advocate. And I'm gonna give it to you, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. Nina, Patel Events Rentals, and I don't know if I don't review these before, like I don't think about them. I just make sure that actually no. Sometimes I put them on here and then I'm like, ooh, we're gonna skip past that one. But I just kind of combine them all in an area. So you're actually getting my ideas as they come. So sometimes that's why you'll hear a little bit of pause. Before I pay for printed materials, what should I review to make sure I'm not wasting money or approving the wrong thing? Um, any person should send you back proof. Like there should be like a really clear defined timer, like, is this correct? Now, they're like what on Vistaprint, like it actually makes you check a box. So you need to understand the proofing process. And if for some reason a graphic designer or someone hasn't provided you with a proof, request one before you move forward. That's very standard, and it's okay to advocate for yourself. So you should be getting a proof. Now, during that proof, what I really, really want you to do is take as much time as possible, because that's where the wasting money comes from. I have had multiple projects where something's spelled wrong, it was the wrong location on it, like sent to me. Sometimes it is my fault. Sometimes it spells something wrong. I mean, I'm not perfect. Sometimes it's also I get bad information. And then during the proofing process, they don't check it. And after we get past the proofing process, it can't be changed. The order's in. it's getting printed, it's in a shipping box somewhere. It's too late. So, what you should be receiving as a proof and what you should be doing to not waste money is taking your time with it. Um, you shouldn't have issues with like approving the wrong thing though. I don't quite understand what that means. Um, it should be clear. And if you're not working with a designer that's clear, um, just make sure you're, checking out what your other options are. How do you know if a marketing company is actually legitimate before paying them? You don't. Hannah. I'm sorry. Hannah Brooks Floral. No, you don't. Um, you can kind of like down where Jamie asked, you can do your best to verify them, authenticate them. One, they should be able to provide you proof of what they've done and the results. SEO is going to be paired with results. Websites are going to be paired with tools, at least in my business. And branded work will be matched with other people brand. Like you're just going to see other times I've branded people, even though that's not your brand, just to see that I can execute it. So you can do it that way. Um, Now, with marketing companies should kind of be marketing themselves any area that you're in. If it would be local, they should have a pretty good stronghold. So if that's the case, go to their other clients, ask them what they like. Again, these are the small steps that you can take that will save you hundreds of dollars, um, if done right. So that's what I would say. I would say reach out to, especially with marketing. Marketing, they should be marketing themselves. Shouldn't be too hard to find somebody who knows them. And if it is hard to find somebody who knows them, is that the marketing company you want to go with? And trust me, I'm not known nationally, but in this small town between the major decision makers that are here, everybody knows my name. They might not know exactly what I do, and I'm not trying to sound egotistical about that. It is so important for my job to connect with my community and market myself. I believe in myself. I believe I make tools for these companies that make them more efficient and make their lives easier. I believe in myself. Yeah, you gotta be doing all of the things. So, at least in mine, no one's gonna not know anything about me. Especially, I would even say in Orlando. I've been in Orlando for over 15 years. Not everybody might know that I'm doing marketing now. We just closed out year 2 in February. So, not everybody knows that full time doing this now, but people might know who I am, know how I handle things. So, um, just just get some intel on the people in a good way. You need everything you need to make an informed decision. What should I check before sending my logos and business information to a printing company online? Marcus, what are you printing? I mean, I feel like that's pretty. Are they putting something together for you? They're putting something together for you. Well, make sure it's the right logo. I've had that happen a couple of times. Depending on how you had the logo made, be careful of if you're sending them an RBG or CYMK. What that is those are the two different color profiles. And the reason why there's two different color profiles is because RGB is screen based, and screen based is done with blue light. So the colors are different and they are produced different on a screen than when they are on a piece of paper. So your CYMK is for paper because when it prints and it saturates, it's actually a different color. So, and they're so close, but like if you ever are put in the position where you have the exact same color and um, of course, now I've said it to my CKY No, CKYM. And RGB, you are going to see a difference. You're going to see that the RGB maybe appears brighter, but it's not brighter. It's just, it's going to be all on a screen and it's going to look different. But of course, it's really hard to, you also have to take in account if you're looking at the RGB color, you need to be looking at that on your screen and you need to print out the other one on a piece of paper. It's just different. They're different mediums, so they are different colors. So make sure you have the right colors, the right file style. Some places might need PNG so that there isn't a background. Some places will need it in JPEG because they need something that's vector based. And JPEG or PDF is going to get them something vector based versus PNG, which is done through pixels. So your vectors and your vectors in JPEG and PDF are lines on a piece of paper. Your PNG, um, typically, your produced for the internet, not for print. Um, that's what was I saying? Um, that's done on a grid. So like the way that when you paint or whatever in Photoshop, they put everything on a grid, and it's like each box is a color versus drawing a line with a vector. So those are the two differences between those. That's why you'll notice like PNGs will start to, over the years or over being duplicated too many times, will start to fuzz on the corners because those boxes keep trying to pick up shadows and stuff, but then over time it just duplicates it in, it actually bleeds into the boxes versus the style. Wow, that was a really random plot, but yeah, that's so when you're sending your logo and your business information to that company, one, you want to make sure it's right, and you want to make sure that's the correct logo. I can't say much more than that because that's pretty open. I don't know what you're having printing. I don't know, but kind of pairing with the last one, you should go through a proof process. Once you prove your proof, your printing should come as your proof did. Submitted. This is gonna be our last one today. We are at an hour 30. I think I am gonna stop these at 9. I don't think I'm gonna do 2 hours. I think it's too long. Hour and a half is more than enough time. Yeah. We're gonna go to an hour and a half, and then I'm hopefully gonna figure out how to get on Facebook too. So this will be our last one. Submitted by Tasha Green, Green Wellness. How can I tell if a website designer is building something I will actually own and control? Well, one, ask them. And own and control are two separate things. So own and control. So I'm gonna break that down into the two because it's you honestly you ask a fantastic question. Fantastic question. Um oh so good. So starting off with this, what I would do is I would tell you to check with the website designer, ask them what they offer. A lot of the time they might have a standard way that they do it, but they might also be willing to work with a different platform. You kind of just need to find out what's best for you. You know, like if you were necessarily like if someone was like, I am set on Shopify. I'm set on Shopify. I'm set on Shopify. Well, I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. I'll build your Shopify, but it's not my bread and butter. I find that there's more superior. And so with something like Shopify, um, or one of my websites, right? So this is how I do it. Yes, you own the website. So websites are essentially a bunch of files that are stacked on top of each other with code that tells how to look, how to feel, how to move. And so those files can actually be transferred. Like it's actually like I could put a website on a, thing and then upload it to another server, a USB. Oh my god. Essentially, of course, there's so many steps. I just got so overwhelmed with all of the details there, but I'm gonna keep you from having to go through the details with me. So, um, in how we do it is yes, you own them. So all of our websites are owned by the people that have signed the contract. So if they would leave me, they take the website. It's an asset. I I have not had anybody leave me for not a good reason. Like for instance, I had a landscaper who found a marketing company that was also going to like take his appointments. I was like, dude, I can't. Like I can't. I'm only a website developer. I'm like, I'm not an assistant. We were on the same page. Like I was not upset about it. I totally understood why he was moving away from me. But I've never had anybody leave me. But if you were to leave me, I would just put them all in a file and send them to either the designer you wanted me to sign or the drive you wanted me to upload it to, and then you can kind of do whatever you wanted with it. Now, here is the caveat to that for if you own it. If you're using Squarespace, you're using Wix, if you are using GoDaddy, if you are using any type of template builder, it is not yours. You do not own it. You're using it. You're paying to rent it and use it, but you do not own it. It won't be able to be used as an asset. It won't ever be able to be taken off of those platforms. They're locked into how that is built. So a web designer coming to you saying that no, you're not going to own it because we're going to do it through Wix or something. Again, that's not the worst thing in the world. Like if you have control of the account, like as long as you're like, I'm going to go with Wix, then it's okay that you don't like, you just need to be all in. You need to know that no, you don't own it and no, it's not transferable. And just make the informed decision. So if a web designer says, no, you don't own it, we're doing it through Wix, and it is what it is. Um, you say, okay, I understand. That person's not being deceptive. Actually, if they come to you like that, they're probably being the most honest that they've been. Well, not that they've been. In the marketplace, a lot of people will use deceitful language. Now control. This is the second part of this. So we understand ownership. Ownership can and cannot exist. And obviously watch for the people that like the web designers that want to own your website and shouldn't. Anyways, long story short, I've seen that. I'm telling you guys because I'm trying to save you from what I've seen from other mistakes that I've watched other people make. Now, control. Control can be one, two things. So I'm going to put some definition to control before I go into it too much. Control would be like you could go in and essentially make changes or function it. Okay. So the way that we handle it is it is an open door policy. They have full access to their website at any time. It's not mine. They can do what they want. But I have made it very clear to the clients if they go in and break something, they have to pay for it to be fixed. So if you feel so comfortable that you can go in and change it, because there is a visual editor to my website design. Yes, I custom code a lot of things, but at the same time, there is an element of well, I use Elementor. I don't mind telling people that does have a visual builder to some extent. And I do have some clients that are technically apt enough that they've come to me and asked if they can make changes. And I have actually said, yes, I feel that you are of. I think that you're going to be able to get through it, but understand if you break it, I got to charge you to fix it. So We have a very open door policy, but also with our hosting terms, I don't find a lot of people making changes because with our hosting at $249 a year with an optional CDN of an additional $100, you get two website change forms and an emergency phone call. So, emergency phone call could be like the website's down. I've had people that said, "Hey, I need you to take it down for a couple hours," because of something that happened. Get rid of this page. Whatever your emergency is, that's covered. And then you get two website change forms. So two website change forms. It's like little things. Want to update this color. I want to change out this phone number. Something that's not going to cause like a ton of work. And at least through the clients. I mean, I think I defined myself pretty easy with like just a phone number change or something. So now pulling that back to control. So you want to ask your website developer. Everybody does it different. I have an open door policy because I don't want people to feel like they're locked out of their things. And I'm gonna have to finish this up quick because my laptop's dying and I know I packed my charger. So control. Ask them what's going on. How do they feel about it? And how do you feel about it? What do you want? You're gonna notice with Wix, all of the easier DIY ones, you guys are gonna have more control because it's actually built for you. Um, the DIY templates, those softwares are built for you to be able to use them. So you can have control by that way. Um, I guess when it comes to control, you need to just define the terms, and I think the best way to do it is like you need to let them know what you want. Like, because control of the website also, like when people do blog posts on the websites I build them a blog form so that they can just fill out the blog form and then it posts to the website. Yeah, they have full access and control, but like they're not going on the post portion of WordPress and using the visual or coded editor. They're just going to that page and stuff. So you just gotta kind of understand how much control you want and what you need. But yes, so just talk to them, ask them what their terms are. Everybody's terms are different. And your template builder, just be aware that you do not own it, even though you might be able to make smaller changes. But so that is our coffee hour for today, a coffee hour and a half for today. I really hope everybody was able to take something from this, and we'll see you guys next week. We're going to try to get a little bit more consistent about being weekly. And again, I apologize for missing a couple there. I hope everybody has a great rest of the day, and I will see you guys next week. Bye bye.